All right, this is a story that could have some impact on taxi drivers here in the city who have, of course, been in court suing the provincial government over the whole Uber situation, taxi permits, and all that kind of stuff. And I bring it up because in Ottawa this week, taxi companies there won a major legal victory, a class action suit filed there in 2016. Now, the difference is their suit was filed against the City of Ottawa. The one in Quebec is filed against the provincial government. But let's find out what's going on and if this does, in fact, spill over or could. George Boussios is president of Champlain Taxi. George, thanks for being here this afternoon.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
So can I ask, is there a correlation here? Because it's a big deal in Ottawa. This represents potentially a lot of money. I think that lawsuit was over $200 million. So what does it mean, if anything, to Montreal cab drivers?
Well, it's taxi owners, and we were in court last month where our class action suit is against the provincial government, as you said, because it's the provincial government that regulates the taxi industry here in Quebec. In Toronto, it's the city that does it. In Ottawa, but here it's Quebec, the Commission de Transport. So obviously it sets a precedent, whether it's provincial or municipal, it doesn't matter, because the fact of the matter is Uber was illegal there, as they were here for about 3 years. The Liberal government knew that they were illegal here for 3 years, to the point that they even raided their offices at one point, if we remember, but yet they still let them drive around the city and the whole, well, it was only the city at that time, really only in Montreal Uber was existing, and they did nothing about it. As a matter of fact, the transport minister, Mr. Robert Poitier, at the time was one of the key witnesses at last month's hearing, and he was basically on our side saying, yeah, it was illegal. And if we remember, they got rid of Mr. Poitier as soon as he kind of was taking our side. And we had 4 transport ministers during that whole ordeal until they found the right one.
So first of all, I want to let people know the situation in Ottawa was the court ruled that Ottawa was negligent in allowing Uber to operate there for the first 2 years of its existence, and that the city infringed on the charter rights of plate holders, or what we would say here, permit holders, right? Taxi permit holders. And that's basically illegal, as I said, and therefore they're entitled, I guess, to some sort of compensation. Is that what you want to have happen in your case against Quebec?
It's exactly the same thing. Here we're just saying that we want the value of our permit that exists, the value of our permit before Uber. They did compensate us. They did give everybody about $46,000, but at the time when Uber came in, the permit was about $200,000 to $220,000.
Right.
So they expropriated basically our permit, and all we're asking for is you took our permits away. We want the value of our permit, or what it was worth before you let this company drive illegally in the city.
How far along are we in this? So you said some money was already sort of given out, but obviously a lot less than those permits were worth. What's the best possible outcome for you if you win?
Well, I think the average, if I'm not mistaken, and again, quote me on this, I think it's about $182,000. They put the value of the permit at $182,000. They will take out, I'm assuming, the amount of money that they gave, depending on most of us got $46,000. So a lot of them got what they paid for. The later guys that bought their permits later on, if they bought it for $150, they got $150. I'll give you an example. I bought my permit in 1992 at about $49,000. I got $46,700 for it. The government gave me $46,000. That's $3,000 less. So I'm assuming, in my case, let's assume it would be 182. Take away the 50 that they gave me. Of course, the lawyers need to get their cut. So I don't know what it will be, but it's a win either way. It's a win either way, because let's not forget, this also happened in Australia about a couple of months ago, a few weeks ago, that actually they had a class action suit against Uber there, and Uber ended up paying $275 million to the Australian taxi permit holders, I guess, in the country, in Melbourne, I don't know exactly where. So that's 2 cases in the last 2 months that the government has lost, the city, in Ottawa's case, and in Australia that the drivers have been compensated. Because at the end of the day, we were right all along. They deregulated the industry. We're not better off. The drivers are not making money. Uber drivers are not making money. And a lot of old-time people, drivers that were hoping for a retirement, because there is no pension in the taxi industry. That was going to be their retirement, and they took it away from them.
Yeah. George, how much has the industry changed? I mean, we talk about Uber now being here for obviously for quite some time. Have you seen a lot of taxi drivers just give it up?
Honestly, it's a lot worse than it's ever been. I have every single day, Aaron, I'm completely honest with you, every single day I have Uber drivers wanting to become taxi drivers. The customer is happy, and that's fine, but the drivers are below minimum wage. We're not any better. We're not any better. Taxi prices are expensive. Uber prices, unless they're price surging, are cheaper. So you can go to the airport from downtown for $19, but what is the driver going to make? So every single day I got Uber drivers wanting to join the company. And I asked, one today came, and I said, but you're probably making more money than us. And he said, no. First of all, I'm putting a lot more kilometers on my car. But just to go back to your question, it is a lot worse. And if we forget, Robert Poitier, the transporter, was an ex-policeman, and he knew that deregulating the industry would not be good for the taxi industry and for the public. And they put him in the backbenches after when he opened his mouth. So it hasn't been good for us. We do need regulations, just like Airbnb. When the tragedy happened in Old Montreal, they put some regulations. We need regulations. We always said it will be the Wild West. There are drivers, whether there's Uber or whether it's taxi, that go in Amazon, put a dome on, or put a sticker, an Uber sticker, and they're illegal, and it's unsafe. But that's what they made us, and we fought against that. So that's another issue besides the permit, but it hasn't gotten better. When I had met Mr. Boussios, the transport minister, before he came into power, when the Liberals were still in power, and he said he wants to put us on a level field. And the only question I asked him, would it be our regular field or theirs, regulation or no regulations? And he said, we'll see. So basically, he just deregulated the industry, and he made it worse for everyone.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I would never have thought of that you say you on a regular basis have Uber drivers now who calling you to say, I want to become a taxi driver. I've had enough of Uber.
You can come to my office, spend the day in my office. I will have about at least 10 calls and at least 5 guys coming in, and they're all, and I say the word begging, and I mean it in not a derogatory type of way. They're begging to come in. And I tell them, and I'm honest, I say, why? You're making more money. And it says we're not making more money. Our car is being, completely abused because they're sending us from West Island, let's say, to Anjou. So they want to become taxi drivers.
I have a question, though. That's interesting to me because I wonder, if you're an Uber driver, you basically get to go on whatever calls you want to go on. Do you get penalized if there's a call there and you choose not to take it?
If you accept the call will come to your tablet. Once you accept it, you definitely have to go. But no, if you want to drive around, let's say with our Champlain dome on and not accept any calls today, we're not going to force you to take calls. But once you do accept it and the customer, is watching you on our app, let's say, of course you have to go.
Yeah, I'm just asking because you said, an Uber driver driving across the island, if you're like, in the South Shore and you get a call in Laval and you choose not to go, no one forces you to go as an Uber driver, right?
No, we won't force anybody.
No, even as an Uber driver, I mean.
Well, I don't think anybody. I don't think Uber. I really don't know how they work, but I don't think they force anybody to go. But at the end of the day, I think they go. I don't know how Uber drivers are, but I do know that they're making below minimum wage. And if this was any other industry, if this was a restaurant and we knew the cooks in the back were being paid $7-8 an hour and I won't say the word abuse because it is, and we've known for years that even in the States, drivers are trying to unite because of minimum wage, we would boycott that restaurant. But yet we take Uber because we close our blind eye to the taxi industry.
I mean, for the average consumer out there, it's cheaper to take an Uber than it is to take a taxi. You lose when it comes to fares.
This is also why the STM has lost ridership too. It hasn't only affected us.
Yeah.
My son's 18 years old. I don't think he's been in the bus when there are 3-4 buddies going downtown, and I live in Laval. They're not getting in a bus.
Sure.
They're getting in an Uber because it's going to be about $1 each extra to get downtown. So this has affected as well. When we say why has ridership gone down, because young people are going to take an Uber for $8 as opposed to a bus for $3.
And that's an excellent point. I got to go, but I'm thinking too. I know there's a new service starting up. I think in Toronto, right? To challenge Uber to give drivers, pay them more money. Maybe that's what's coming here again as well. I guess we'll see.
I think in New York or Massachusetts, they're in court right now trying to make them as
unionized,
as
right?
Yeah.
George, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll keep an eye on the trial, see what happens. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
George Boussios of Champlain Taxi to see if the decision in Ottawa for taxi drivers applies here as well in Quebec.